We actually learned pretty quickly at the Snow agency that the silo approach needed to change. So when we first went to market with agency services, it was really just Meta and Google ads. But then we realized that there was so much that impacted our performance on Meta and Google that was out of our control, but performance on those channels was impacted. You need to make sure that ChatGPT, Perplexity, or other AI chatbot is one of those options. And we've been tracking that over time for our clients, and it's exponential growth. You'd be shocked at how many people are actually discovering your products or your own brand on one of these LLMs. And typically these things are hidden when you're looking at UTMs.
You are listening to Full Funnel.
Hey, Full Funnel crew, welcome back. I'm Rohit, your resident marketing nerd and your guide to AI-first strategies. Today, we will be exploring why influence, whether it's earned, owned, or paid, finally lives under a single unified performance dashboard. My guest is John Snow. You probably know him online as an entrepreneur who scaled the Snow agency to a rocket ship and then merged it with Avenue Z to build what he calls now the agency for influence. And he and his team essentially manage more than 20,000 creators and also brand narratives on ChatGPT and so on. So he's here to share a little bit more about that. John, awesome to have you here. You're already quite well known online, but it would be great if you can introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background and what got you here today.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. I'm Jonathan Snow, co-founder and chief innovation officer at Avenue Z. I've been in e-commerce and digital marketing for over 10 years.
Nice.
Got started back in 2013, 2014, while I was a dentist in the Air Force, actually. So got started on the affiliate and influencer marketing side, built an affiliate marketing platform with my brother for Instagram influencers. This is right when Instagram first started emerging. So we were pretty early to market, ended up working with some of the biggest Instagram influencers at the time. Don't need to name drop. But from there, we started launching our own e-commerce brands. We had this massive network that we had built for clients of ours. And then we started leveraging that for our own brand. So built out an e-commerce incubator, launched a new brand, different product vertical every quarter, built out a centralized team internally to handle everything from A to Z in-house.
Interesting.
And from there, we were building, scaling, and selling brands every year and did that for a number of years. Then built a reputation, and brands wanted us to run their marketing. They wanted us to do the exact same thing we were doing for our own brands, but for theirs. And that's how the agency was born. 2019, sold our last brand and pivoted to the agency side full time, which was the Snow agency. And then in 2023, merged with Avenue Z, which is where I'm at today.
Amazing. What a journey. I guess running an agency is much better than running a brand, I guess. More challenging.
The grass is always greener. It's each has its benefits, each has its challenges, but each side is exciting.
Definitely. So you said that, running performance ads alone, performance marketing by itself, standalone, has stopped scaling since like 2021, right? That's when you kind of started looping in like PR and creator marketing into the same plan. Can you take us back to that moment where that proved that basically the siloed approach had to change?
Yeah, so we actually learned pretty quickly at the Snow agency that the silo approach needed to change. So when we first went to market with agency services, it was really just Meta and Google ads. But then we realized that there was so much that impacted our performance on Meta and Google that was out of our control, but performance on those channels was impacted. So creative, right? So being able to produce net new concepts, whether it's photo or video. So we launched a studio. Now, then we realized, well, if we don't have a strong email and SMS marketing program in play to optimize and convert all the traffic we were driving from Meta and Google, then performance is kind of handicapped to email and SMS. So we launched that. And then we kind of covered all elements of social and e-commerce marketing until Avenue Z, when we merged with Avenue Z. Then we acquired a PR agency and an SEO and content marketing agency. And then by merging those two with the performance and social media marketing, that gave us a great vantage point to impact the business from every angle, from the earned media, the paid media, everything in between.
Amazing. Could you share like a bit of a story or like an early win that basically convinced you that, or convinced the stakeholders that basically, this blended model kind of outperforms the standalone models?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious because the brands that work with us from a full service perspective, one of them actually has been with us. They're still with us today, but they were one of our first clients at the Snow Agency. And we had taken over every element of their performance marketing for their .com, driving all the traffic, getting all the influencer content, creating the ads. And they went from zero to well into 9 figures of annual revenue profitably and just had a pretty big exit for over $200 million this year.
Wow.
So being able to control every level of the funnel, the landing page, the creative, the paid media, the analytics, that helps us impact results most predictably. And another recent one actually came on. We were able to take over pretty much all traffic and performance to the .com. And within 2 months of taking over, we've already doubled store revenue and did that while reducing CAC. So we scaled. Ad spend is up 2x, revenue is up over 2x. And performance has actually improved as we scaled, which typically you don't see. So that's another one.
Amazing. Yeah, that's really impressive. I guess you're adapting and innovating or kind of like evolving into the AI space along with all other agencies. And I think Avenue Z now runs this AI visibility audit that essentially scans everything from Google search to ChatGPT answers and so on and so forth. Can you tell us a little bit about how that audit works and how you work with clients on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So AI search optimization, which simply put helps brands rank better in ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google AI overviews, every LLM. So very similar to SEO, but in AI chatbots. So in order to affect change on your ranking in AI search, you need to focus on 3 things. And these 3 things are typically not done under one roof. So it's PR, which is like third-party validation, getting featured on domains that do not belong to the brand.
Yeah.
Then there's typical SEO, traditional SEO, technical and on-site content. And so all that blog content that matches with what people are searching for in ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And then there's getting volume and traffic to all of those pages on site and on the publishers where your brand is featured. So when you combine all 3 of those, that's how you control AI search optimization. So what we do is, and since we have all 3 under one roof, the PR, that's where the paid media and that's where the SEO kind of all come together, layer on strategy on top of that. That's how we affect change. But what we do is we set up dashboards. So like anytime a new client or brand comes on wanting us to audit their presence, we will get a list of all their top competitors. Then we will look at what are the most relevant prompts that apply to all of the brands, the competitors and the brand at stake. And then we'll start running sample queries every day at scale for every single prompt. And over time, we're able to track in each LLM model who is most visible of all the competitors that were listed. So you can start seeing how visible you are, what URLs are most frequently cited. So if we see that Reddit is most often cited for a certain product vertical or brand, then we'll start focusing on Reddit strategy to impact SEO. There's a social media platform called Lemon8, which no one's ever heard of really. It's owned by ByteDance, kind of like Pinterest to an extent.
Okay.
But that has a ton of AI search value right now, and it gets frequently referenced. So we look at things like that over time, and we're able to analyze different trends. So anytime ChatGPT changes something in the algorithm, we're immediately notified because we can see when one brand starts declining in a certain model, there's always a reason why, and the dashboards that we stand up bring those things to life.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that behavior is kind of changing now, right? How do you see the consumer behavior changing? It's quite rapid, right? Is there like a trend that you're seeing right now, like in terms of how many people using AI search?
Yeah, I mean, the number one trend is what I see on post-purchase survey responses. So I posted about this a couple of weeks ago, but every brand or any business in the world, if you have a post-purchase survey and that first question is, how did you hear about us or why did you purchase today? You need to make sure that ChatGPT, Perplexity, or other AI chatbot is one of those options.
Yeah.
And we've been tracking that over time for our clients, and it's exponential growth. You'd be shocked at how many people are actually discovering your products or your own brand on one of these LLMs. And typically these things are hidden when you're looking at UTMs because ChatGPT more often than not will not give a user a direct link to a brand's website. And most often cites third-party sources. So if they're just seeing your brand being mentioned in the chat and then Google searching it, it might come in as branded search traffic or direct traffic, whatever it may be. You're losing signal on ChatGPT. So if you're just looking at Google Analytics, you're like, oh, what volume of traffic is coming from ChatGPT and what revenue is associated with it? You're missing like 95% of the picture. The only way to capture that is through the post-purchase survey, which is what we're doing. And the volume that it's changing is really rapid. 6 months ago, we saw nothing. Now we're seeing exponential growth month over month.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, I think the behavior has changed, right? It's so convenient. And then you kind of you can ask all kinds of follow-up questions and stuff like that to really find the product that you want. And we're seeing a lot of change in that space as well. Amazing. So you basically manage a network of like 20,000 creators as well, right? And you've seen what works. Could you share like how you guys do this and, what actually drives sales?
Yeah, I mean, we've been in the influencer game for over 10 years, so we've worked with countless number of influencers.
Mm-hmm.
It really all comes down to the brief.
Okay.
So a great potential influencer could produce a really crappy video if you don't give them any guardrails.
Yeah.
Typically, when you work with influencers, they don't know the products that well. And so if you give them too much freedom, then they might not hit on the talking points that will convert when you're scaling it with paid media. So just giving them a simple one-page brief of things to say, things not to say, if there are certain claims they cannot make, which would make the content not usable, make sure it's all upfront. That'll eliminate any headaches on the back end. Once you don't want to have back and forth and have things take weeks, that's how you sour influencer relationships. So and when something works, you have to have a root cause analysis why. So like, if it worked, there's always a reason why it worked. You need to uncover why it worked and then keep iterating on that and reproducing that across different assets, different creators, and just keep doubling down when things are working. And then you trim the fat when things don't work. A certain brief didn't hit the mark at all. Understand why and how you can iterate on that to improve and make sure everything that you're launching in your ad account needs to have a specific naming convention so that you could aggregate your insights across numerous ads. So if you have a certain concept or a certain hook, make sure that's identified in the naming convention. Because I think that's the biggest mistake. People might have 500 ads in an account, 200 of which are different pieces of content, meaning you duplicate it a few times in the ad account. Something might look good in one little spot on one little window, but when you look at it in aggregate, it might tell a totally different story. So the importance of naming conventions.
Amazing. And what's your take on the change in or the evolution of UGC itself? A lot of people are starting to dabble in AI creatives and scaling up that way. Are you guys doing that as well?
Yeah, AI creative, we're still in the early innings. It's not like a perfect solution at all. There's a bunch of tools out there that we're playing with. None is replacing the entire creative process. There's definitely parts of certain tools that we love right now. A lot of it is creative ideation too. So some of these AI creative tools will actually produce net new creatives based on the raw assets you give it. And it gives us some creative eye-opening when we see different angles being exposed that way. But we're still a far ways away from having it soup to nuts being done where it's giving you the idea and the finished creative and it doesn't require any type of like design intervention. But I wouldn't be shocked if we were here 6 to 12 months from now and my stance has changed.
Indeed. Let's talk a little bit about measurement itself. You're combining all the different models, you probably like, if we talk about brand lift studies from PR or, TikTok virality, meta ad performance, everything is like a different currency. How do you kind of translate everything and distill everything into a single language that the stakeholders can understand?
It really depends. Every brand has different KPIs. Some have a CAC to LTV model they work off of. Some brands that are more reliant on first purchase profitability, like if it's high average order value, they might have a blended return on ad spend model. So it really depends on the brand. But I think the most important thing to note is that there is no single source of truth. The answer usually lies somewhere in between what the platforms report, what the different models and whatever measurement third-party tool you're using is reporting, and just understanding how the numbers change based on different attribution windows, different models, and just having certain guardrails that you eventually use to back into what your blended number needs to be at the store level.
Right. Amazing. And with regards to the stakeholders that you work with within the brands, what metrics what do they really care about, right? When it comes to this blended model, is it more like reputation or are they just focusing on the revenue?
In like an AI search optimization perspective, it's really we're tracking visibility over time, sentiment in LLMs over time, obviously traffic coming to the website directly from ChatGPT, Perplexity, post-purchase survey responses. We're also monitoring like as visibility goes up in the LLMs, is branded search traffic also increasing? So like trying to correlate mentions and visibility off the website to traffic that's coming in different avenues to the website.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's talk about this merger between Snow and Avenue Z. I guess it kind of meant that you had to kind of blend some of your processes, your people, and so on. Was there any change or clash in culture? Was it like was this envisioned as an AI first team, or like a structure to when it comes to best serving your clients?
Not necessarily. And I think the reason why is because all three agencies that came together underneath Avenue Z were all critical pillars to affect AI search optimization. I mean, if you look at just ChatGPT volume among the other LLMs, in the next 3 to 4 years, it's going to outpace total Google search volume. Right. So like being at the forefront of that and having all three come together, where each pillar carries near equal weight, then it would be very surprising to me if someone didn't want to be a part of that. If their discipline directly tied into what the future is inevitably going to hold for every business, then, I don't think if someone had a problem with that, I don't think, an innovative company is where they belong.
Amazing. And I think you mentioned that you hired this role called the creative data hybrid person. Can you describe what that role is about, and what's a day in the life of that kind of role?
Yeah, probably referring to performance creative. So yeah, which is all about data. So in performance marketing, I mean, there's two types of creatives. There's like brand creative, then there's performance creative. So brand creative is more abstract, right? It's all like upper funnel, brand mission, vision, brand kits. Everything is super conservative and in this box without taking risks. And then you have performance creative, which is the opposite. It's more science and data driven and consumer psychology driven. So our performance creative strategist must understand data. How does attribution work? How do the platforms report? How do I look at all the data and understand where to iterate for the next batch of creatives? So understanding like thumb stop rate, click through rate, cost per click, pretty much everything down funnel from thumb stop rate, and then understanding like where are the problems with this creative and why, and then like that becomes the foundation for what that next batch of creatives is.
Amazing. And do you see that role kind of evolving to get more financially literate as well, like understanding the P&L and stuff like that?
100%. I mean, if you're on the marketing team here, you have to understand how everything ties back to the P&L. If you don't, then you shouldn't be in performance marketing. And that's what I actually think like the biggest common issue that we come across today are these new account takeovers where there is zero correlation between ad account performance and business performance. Yeah. Things might look great in Meta or any other ad platform, right? Because of the attribution windows they're looking at or whatever. Yeah. But when they see increase in Meta reported performance and somehow CAC is increasing or blended return on ad spend at the store level is decreasing, doesn't add up. And it's typically because there's something wrong foundationally with the strategy and people are asleep at the wheel. So not understanding how to correlate those things like media buying with financial performance is the biggest issue. And I think it's a pretty abstract thing. There's no course, that you can go to Harvard University for, to my knowledge, that was like how to correlate media buying with the P&L, right? It's a lot of learned experiences and there's not much out there in terms of talent that understand how to do it.
Indeed. But yeah, it's great to know that things are changing with this kind of unified approach. It's something we do as well at LifeSite. We're trying to essentially make marketers more financially literate, as well as then finance teams more marketing literate as well, right? Because they don't understand that metrics. But let's take a walk into the future. I think everything from AI, you guys are pretty advanced in that, as well as some agentic workflows or some kind of automation that's kind of changing marketing as we know it. What's your take on all of that?
So Meta came out like a couple of months ago and they said that, we're going to automate marketing from A to Z. You won't even have to like lift a finger, basically. We're going to create the creative and run everything at Advantage Plus Shopping and you don't have to do anything. I'm definitely not in that camp, but there are a bunch of interesting tools that we're working with right now to increase our efficiency, like bulk ad publishing tools. So now that we can launch 200 creatives in the matter of minutes every week instead of hours, especially everything's about volume these days, like AI, machine learning, Meta, Andromeda. It's all about volume, right? So having tools to enable that volume from happening while maintaining efficiency is critical. So we're thinking about how do we use tools to increase creative volume, increase creative testing volume, and performance will follow after that. But I think it's a really fluid situation. There's a lot of tools out there. I think it's also important not to get paralyzed by all these tools and actually know how to evaluate tools and understand, is it going to improve my top line or bottom line? If it doesn't check one of those boxes, you should not be playing with it, because there is a lot of shiny object syndrome out there. So just have a pulse, be very analytical and critical of any new tool you bring in, because it could burden your team more than help if it's not trying to achieve the business objectives you have.
Amazing. Yeah, 100%. I think there's just a ton of shiny objects, especially it's so easy to now code up a tool and put it out there in the market. Everyone's kind of vibe coding and creating tools internally as well. So very, very interesting time. So what's your take about the future itself? Like, what's your outlook in terms of 6 months, 24 months, 5 years? Are you worried at all for the change in the agency model? How do you see this model evolve?
No, I think I'm extremely excited. So I think the more we get into the future and the more change there is, the more there is need for people that are keeping up with all the change, which is what agencies should be doing. Well, unfortunately, not many do, but that's why agencies that are at the forefront and are innovating are the ones that will get the biggest and best clients, because the biggest brands and businesses typically are much slower to adopt change and rely on experts to do that. I think you have to think about agency services in two capacities. There's execution and there's strategy, right? So if you're an agency that's stuck in execution, you're going to get replaced. You should be afraid. If you are in the execution and strategy world, which we are, we don't want to only do strategy. Eventually, if we get there and AI is executing everything and there's bots and agents executing everything, then we're at the strategy level, and that's okay. At least we're set up for that. So I'm excited by it. Every day I wake up with a lot more reading material than I intended, just because of all the new updates that are coming, new tools, new platform updates. And that's what gives us a competitive advantage. So I embrace the change. I don't fear it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I think researching it and keeping up to date is like the most important thing, because things are changing so fast as well. And yeah, I just got a ton of bookmarks I need to get to every weekend, and I'm like struggling to go through them.
Yeah, I have like 10 tabs open on my computer screen right now of reading material that I still haven't gotten to.
What's a business KPI that you check before your coffee every day?
I have my dashboard of every single client in one view. At a bird's eye view, I see how they're trending from yesterday to the day prior and know if any intervention is needed in the first hour of the day.
What's the most overrated marketing metric?
Most overrated marketing metric: 7-day click, 1-day view attribution.
Awesome. That's a great answer. What's an AI tool that you've been obsessed with this last quarter?
Ad Manage. It's a bulk publishing tool for launching meta ads at scale.
Awesome. A quick last piece of advice for anyone who wants to kind of win in this space. What would be a quick piece of advice?
Always be learning. Follow my newsletter if you want any boots on the ground insights. I try to stay on top of all the different platform updates on a routine basis, or follow me on social as well. Always got to be a student of the game. Things change so often. If you don't embrace that, you're going to get left behind. Algorithms change, platform features change, and if you don't know how that impacts everything that you're doing on those channels, then performance will suffer.
Amazing. Awesome. So that's a wrap for this edition of the Full Funnel Podcast. John, it's been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. And to anyone listening, if today's conversation sparked any new idea, hit follow and subscribe, and share this with a teammate who might find it helpful. And also please follow John on his social media as well as his newsletter. A link will be down in the description. We'll be back next week with another guest pushing the boundaries of AI-driven growth. Until then, keep testing, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next Full Funnel. Thanks, John. Bye.
Thank you.